Welcome to Design to Move, a weekly functional movement series reviewing common movement impairment syndromes, muscle imbalances, and injury cycles and how to correct for them. Don't just exercise, but restore optimal movement.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Design to Move. My name is Ryan Maxwell. This is Ryan Parr. We're both two movement specialists here at Fluid Health and Fitness. Today we're going to go into the importance of breathing and the mechanics of breathing. You may not be aware, but the average person breathes about 20,000 times a day. That's a lot. It's the most redundant movement the human body goes through on a regular basis. And if the mechanics around breathing are flawed, it can alter the relationships or the natural muscular tension relationships through the body. That's why today we're going to show you how to get your body to breathe more naturally to help to reestablish the right kinetic systems through the body. If you have questions, you can reach out to us at admin@fluidhealthandfitness.com, or you can read the blog on the topic. It's listed in the description below. Make sure to take a look at that. And we do have a table of contents to the side, so if you want to zip to one of those segments, you're welcome to. And we have a condensed version of all of this with acute variable selections at the end of the video, so make sure to take a look at that. We're going to get started with our release of our accessory respiratory muscles, so let's get started. This is the mobility and release section of this video. We're going to be targeting the accessory respiratory muscles, the scalenes, sternocleidomastoid, and pec minor. What you will need is a lacrosse ball or a ball that you can basically palpate on your chest. And with that, let's get started. First muscle we're going to release are the scalenes. These are neck flexor muscles, and they're also accessory respiratory muscles. So basically they add to lifting the rib cage up. And if our diaphragm and our intercostals aren't strong enough to do the job, they kick in. So a lot of times they get tight and they pull the neck forward, and with that, the head will glide back. Create a lot of pressure, headaches, all sorts of pressure, no fun. So we're gonna reduce this, get the ribs down, get our diaphragm to work. So what you're gonna do is self-palpation. You use your fingertips, and first you wanna identify where the muscle is. So if you trace the bigger muscle in the front of your neck, it's called the Sternocleidomastoid, CSM. You're going to be just adjacent to it laterally. If you find your clavicle, that collarbone, trace that sterno, and then roll your fingers into that little pocket, you'll feel some stringy-like muscles, right? They feel like tendons almost, but they're not, they're muscles. And what you can do is you can tilt your head to the opposite side. It's called contralateral tilt, and you'll feel them start to bulge, okay? So you feel that, right? Brian's going to show you today while we go through this. So basically what we're going to do is start in a neutral position, make sure your head's pointed straight in line with your sternum, and then push down a little bit. Make sure not to push down too hard. If you feel a pulse, you're on your artery, get off of it. Don't do that. Okay, stay into it. And then first, breathe out, push your fingertips down, and tilt your head to the side a little bit. And you'll feel that pressure. These muscles attach the rib cage up to the spine, and so you'll feel either the ribs want to lift or you'll guard, so you won't want to tilt your head to the side as much. So only go to a point of comfort. It's going to stretch, but you don't want to put yourself in pain. And obviously there's some nerve endings through here that are very complicated. We don't want to overdo it. Okay, so as you tip your head, you're going to breathe out, and at the apex of the tilt, you can look up to go through the first scalene, and there's three of them. You have an anterior, medial, and posterior, and then you can look down and get into your posterior. The first two attach to the first rib, and then the third goes back into the second rib. And again, you're going to glide through all of them by tilting your head up and down. You can look up and down as you do that. Okay, so again, you would start in a neutral, push down, tip, look down, get into the posterior, look up, get into the anterior, relax, soften back to neutral. See if you can push a little bit deeper now that the muscle has gotten more tone or lack of tone. It starts to relax and lengthen. Again, you're going to go through about 10 of those cycles on those scalenes on one side, and then switch over to the other side, and then we're going to get into the sternocleidomastoid. Now the sterno we just identified. It's a big ropey-like muscle that attaches the base of the skull. So again, it's a neck flexor, but also it kicks the head backward. A lot of times it can get tight when the ribs, again, are not centered because we don't have enough abdominal pressure. So what you're going to do again is use a pincer grip. It's one of those muscles where you can squeeze it, right? Define where it is, and I like to grip it almost like you're squeezing between your thumb. Grip that whole solid mass, and again, the muscle will tilt the head to the opposite direction and flex it to the same direction. So when I want to stretch it, or again, pin and stretch it like we're gonna do here. I'm gonna hold it, and then I'm gonna tip to the opposite side and look up as I do that. Now again, because of where it attaches, if it's tight and it wants to guard because you put it into pain is sensation, again, followed by a motor response to guard or retract. If it does, the body's gonna guard by trying to either flex it or pull the rib up, okay, the clavicle up. So you wanna keep it down and only go to a point of, again, a sensation that you can sustain and handle. So at the top, again, you're breathing out, look up, and then relax, let it come back. Now again, if you do some exploratory pinching, you may feel some trigger points, again, some soft, spasmed areas if it's overused. So you'll be able to, again, find out where there might be a sensitive spot, hold that sensitive spot, and then pull the muscle through the width of your fingers or the tension of your fingers. That'll help to elongate and extend the muscle. So we go again about 10 times through the neck on both sternos. A lot of times one side might be more dominant than the other. You can tell if it's dominant based on the way your head's positioned. So if your chin was offset to the side a little bit, that's a good indication that the sterno on the opposite side of the tilt is dominant. But again, generally speaking, they're both tight and they alter, again, the breathing mechanics, leaving the ribs up. So we want to get them down, get those ribs back to natural so we can breathe in and out through our diaphragm. And again, the next one is my favorite, a Pec Minor. Pec Minor is a little muscle guy that attaches your shoulder to your ribs. And we use it, again, to lift up. Okay, now that muscle lays underneath your big pec major. Your pec major attaches your sternum to your humerus, and we use it to bench press and push stuff out in front of us. This is not the muscle we're targeting. It's the muscle that lays underneath of it that attaches the shoulder to the rib cage. Now again, if we have this posture, and we see a lot of that, right? Forward shoulders rolled in, shoulders are rotated open, or the head's kicked back. Common posture we see in most people, right? You're gonna wanna reduce this muscle too. So once again, these muscles like to overwork if our diaphragm doesn't work. So I'm gonna put the lacrosse ball into the base of my little shoulder here. And it's easy to find, so if you travel along the collarbone, and I'll pull it down here, you travel along the collarbone, trace it over to this little apex, this little bump here, it's called your acromion. If you go down into the groove and then over a little bit, more medially towards the sternum, and you roll your fingers up and down, you'll feel a little groove, almost like a diagonal. Okay, so I'm gonna push the pressure down in the ball or from the ball onto that muscle. And again, to stretch it, because we do this pin and stretch technique like we've been showing you by pulling the muscles through, you're gonna roll the shoulder back. Now if the muscle's tight, you'll feel it roll into your fingertips, right, as you get that shoulder back. Now again, it grips onto the ribs. So if it's tight and it starts to guard, what's it gonna do? It's gonna pull the rib with it. So you'll move the whole sternum and the whole rib cage along with it. You don't wanna do that. You wanna anchor your ribs down. Do that by breathing out. Place the ball into that little pocket and then roll the arm back and around. So Ryan can do that by taking the ball, and I'm gonna pretend to be the wall here. He's gonna be pushing that into the wall with his chest, like so. Might as well do it on the other side so they can see better. Okay, right there. And I can almost roll over it and feel that little groove in there. And Ryan feels that, right? I'm gonna find the little tender spot. He's pushing into it. He's gonna breathe out, anchor the rib down, and then roll their shoulder back. Strip it, okay? The act of rotating the joint and pulling the arm back, pulling the scapula back posteriorly, is gonna pull the muscle through the pressure of that ball and help to break open the proteins and to engage the nervous system by stretching the muscle spindles. So hopefully this should start to calm the tension of that muscle down, start to elongate it, get more length, and to help to break down, again, the proteins and the collagens that block and keep it from opening. So that's all three of the accessory respiratory muscles. There's a few more that we're not gonna target today, but those are the big ones that we wanna get after. Remember, you're gonna go through about 10 cycles of breathing, bring it back to passive, sink in deeper, breathe out, bring it back to passive. And you'll notice that every time it gets a little bit deeper into the muscle, feels good, okay? This is the activation segment of this video. We're gonna be targeting the abdominals to get the rib cage down so we can get it positioned so that diaphragm can fire off the rib cage more efficiently. Let's get into it. So Ryan's on the table in a 4-point position. This is called a quadruped or quadruped position. And basically what we're doing is stacking our arms under our shoulders and our legs under our hips. And we're keeping a neutral spinal alignment to start. So what is neutral? The base of the head is in line right where the ribs meet up with the lumbar spine and the sacrum. So if I had a spindle, we would put it on his back and all 3 points of contact would be engaged. Okay, so that's how we know he's in a neutral position. Now, in that neutral and set up in that position, he's gonna start breathing. Now remember, his abdominals are already engaged because the weight of his organs are laying into that abdominal wall. The abdominals are going to have to fire against that, so he's already engaging them already naturally. Now remember, the body will lengthen, or the back will lengthen as he breathes in, arching the back, and as he breathes out, it's going to collapse and flex the abs, making it haunch. So as he breathes in, it's going to arch, and breathe out, flex. So notice that his pelvis goes under and his shoulders start to go into protraction as he breathes out, flexing the abdominals, breathing in, and sinking into extension. This is called a common cat-cow position. This is a mobilization drill for the spine. You see it in yoga, Pilates, and pretty much every other mobility class you're ever gonna go to. But truly what we're trying to do is open up the spine. And I want you guys to understand how the breathing mechanics impact the length of the spine. As you breathe out, again, you're gonna contract the abs and create a flexion, a kyphosis of the spine. And as you breathe in and it starts to lengthen, it's lordotic. So once again, we're gonna try to contain that and only let your back come down or sink into extension down to neutral. Neutral for a guy is roughly about 25 degrees in the lumbar spine. The pelvis is dropped down just a little bit, not a ton. So he's containing it despite the fact that he's breathing in. Remember, the diaphragm basically competes against the abs. So as he breathes in, it's gonna lengthen his abs. And a lot of times the abs are weaker compared to the diaphragm or the accessory respiratory muscles that we just released. So the goal here is to maintain the contraction of the abdominals as you breathe in and out. So you kind of want to keep the flexion, keep crunched the whole time, despite the fact that you're moving up and down. Now again, he's going to breathe in for 2, and then breathe out for 4. Nice and slow. We're working against gravity. Remember, gravity is a common element or variable that affects all of us, and we want to support the spine against it. So, at the sake of running on even more, I'm going to let you guys go. Remember, you're going to do about 20 repetitions of breath, 2 in, 4 out. It's going to help to engage his abdominals, and then we're going to get into our integration position, and you're not going to have to go far because you're going to stay in the same position. Let's get started. This is the functional integration segment of our video. We're going to be focusing on a quad-root position with a serratus press, with scaption and a breathing focus. A big mouthful, but here it comes. So now we're gonna get into integration. Remember guys, integration is about teaching all the components of the body to move with the synchronicity that supports and stabilizes the joints so that the body works efficiently and we don't create hypercompression in certain areas of the body that lead to injury cycles. So what we're gonna do again is get into this 4-point position, and now we're gonna add something that looks more similar to gait or walking. Now when you walk, your arms rotate around your rib cage and your shoulder blades rotate around your rib cage. Now oftentimes if the musculature around our arms is too tight, it pulls our ribs around and then starts to stretch through our obliques and our abdominals. Those become impacted by it and they stretch out more than they should, and so our ribs lift up again and we end up again using too much of our accessory respiratory muscles. We talked about that. So the goal here today is to teach you how to brace through your abdominals while breathing in. Remember, if you breathe in, your back's gonna lengthen, it's gonna stretch your abs. We don't wanna do that. So we're gonna breathe in, push through our arm, which is gonna go into protraction just like walking, and you're gonna retract the opposite arm around the rib cage. So Ryan's gonna show you an example of that while I shut up for a little bit. He's gonna breathe in, punch through his left arm, protract the shoulder, transverse glide of the shoulder around the ribs, transverse glide of the opposite shoulder into retraction, and then breathe out and slowly come down to the table. Now notice how his shoulder blade is gliding way back, all the way back. It's pocketing back and down. As he comes down, notice his shoulder is not shrugging. So real quick, Ryan, yeah, you would get fatigued and the shoulder's gonna start to crank up. We gotta keep those traps under control. So keep the shoulder down and don't push so far that the shoulder drives up. So again, you're gonna breathe in, lift up, ribs are fairly parallel to the floor or down on the ground. and then he's gonna breathe out and let that shoulder blade glide back down, contracting the abs, holding the ribs stable, and you letting the scapula, the shoulder blade, glide around the trunk. The shoulder glides on a fixed canister. Your ribs are your canister, your abs are engaged, everything stays nice and neutral, and you start to work the muscles that help to support the shoulders. Now again, by doing that, we get the pressure off of the accessory respiratory muscles too, because they indirectly attach and work with those systems. So by doing this, it's going to coordinate all the right patterns to the brain, and hopefully this gets sticky in your central nervous system. So again, this will stay a part of your qualitative movement all the time. So what you would want to do is go through that pressure, again, breathing in for 2 and then slow retraction back. And you're going to go through about 15 to 20 of those, or until you start seeing your shoulders start to shift up, or you start to exhibit those motor dominances. And again, a motor dominance is a compensation pattern. So shoulder will shrug, it's going to kick back, hips start to sway back and forth, start to arch more through the lower back. These are all things that are going to tell you, pump the brakes, you've done the work, your body's fatigued. Take a break, give yourself about 45 to 60 seconds to recover, and then go through another round, and you can go through both sides. Now again, you may have some asymmetries on that rib line and around, again, the obliques. We're not going to talk about that today. That's for another video, but keep your eyes open for it, because we're going to talk about the obliquity of the pelvis and the ascension of the rib cage on one hemisphere. So look forward to that in future Design and Move series. Let's move into our final component, strength. We're going to finish it off with a strength movement. This is going to be intra-abdominal pressure in a laying supine position with a thoracic excursion focus. Let's get breathing. So the last one here has to do with really taxing the diaphragm. Now remember, the diaphragm is this big dome that lays inside of your ribs, attaches the ribs to the spine, feeds down the spine, and it makes up a part of your deep sling of muscles. Now a lot of times, again, the abs are not strong enough to compete against the diaphragm, unfortunately, because of biomechanical limitations around the pelvis and extra tone and tension around the quads for the attachment points of the legs to the hips. So we're not going to talk about that so much today, but just know that the orientation of the pelvis makes the ribs go up. So if my hips drop down, my ribs go up, my abs lengthen. They're not stiff enough to hold the ribs down. Ipso facto, accessory respiratories kick in. Make sense? Make sense? Hopefully you get it. If not, read the blog. Believe me, we'll go into detail. So bottom line, ribs are going to lay down, and how they lay down is by breathing out. So if you breathe out, you'll notice your lower back's going to touch the mat. It's going to bring the ribs down. In yoga, they call it lace up the ribs. All sorts of colloquialisms for that, but really we're breathing out and pulling the ribs down. Now from there, he's going to lift his body weight up from the trunk, and he's going to hold this in an isometric position, meaning same length, he's not moving. That means the abs are going to be on. We could do the Rocky and start beating them. Okay, the bottom line is they're tight. Now with those abs engaged, his diaphragm has nowhere to go but out back here. So if he breathes in deeply, he's gonna wanna open his ribs, but nope, his abs are holding him down. Now the only way that the air can go is back here, posterior lateral of the rib cage, and that's called excursion. So this movement is intra-abdominal pressure with thoracic excursion. People, the bigger you can get the excursion or the rib line, there's a lot of correlations with athleticism and getting oxygen saturation in the body, and again, all sorts of performance indications that show people who can do this are better equipped to approach performance and movement in general. So what we want to do is condition the diaphragm to work against the abs. He's going to hold the abdominal wall, and he's going to breathe in for 2, get as much air as he can into the lungs, and then he's going to breathe out for a count of 6. So 2 in and 6 out. By breathing out that deeply, he's gonna feel it in his abdominals. He's not moving, but I promise you, if you do it right, you're probably gonna get the best ab workout you've had in a whole long time. And if I held Ryan here for much longer, you're gonna see him do the Watutsi, because he's gonna start to go crazy, okay? So the bottom line is, this is hard, and breathing makes everything that much more intense. And if you can't do it on the table or on the ground for 2 minutes, guess what? Probably not gonna happen when you're upright doing a squat or a deadlift or a lunge. Okay, so let's get them under control in isolation on the table before we put them into functional movement. Okay, and that again is functional integrated training 101. So again, you're gonna go in for this breathing pattern. Take in a nice deep breath for 2, breathe out for 6. That's a 1-to-3 ratio, okay, or 1-to-3 ratio, 2 in, 6 out. And you're gonna try to get through 10 breathing cycles for roughly about a minute and some change. Okay, so take a break, Ryan. Okay, good job, okay. And that is it. Make sure to practice this. Maybe you won't get through all the breathing. Maybe you notice that your arms start to kick in. You're gonna start using that pectoral girdle. I don't know, Pec Minors, right? Maybe you start to kick your neck up. Oh, just start using these muscles to help lift. No, that's a compensation. Okay, elbows gotta go back, chin's gotta stay tucked, ribs gotta stay down, and the legs aren't going wonky back and forth. They have to stay neutral inside the hip line the whole time. If you see any of those things break, it's time to stop, give yourself a minute to recover, do it again, get 2 sets on your body, and that brings us to the end of the program. All right, that brings us to the end of our video today. Remember, the whole focus of this was to teach the body how to breathe more naturally. Doesn't seem like that would be an issue for most, but a lot of times our rib cage are hyperascended, like we talked about. That positions our diaphragm into a heightened contracture, so we never get a full breath. Now remember, oxygen is pretty important for the brain, the cells, the muscles, and everything else that helps the metabolism. So make sure to repeat this video several times during the week. If you do, you'll naturally see that your body moves more efficiently, and you should perform better in everyday activities as well. So again, if you have questions, reach out to us at admin@fluidhealthandfitness.com. And again, read the blog on the series. We go way into detail about how all these mechanisms work. So make sure to educate yourself so you are going to be better equipped to approach all these movements. Once again, your body's designed to move, so stay in motion. We'll see you next time.